The Nigeria Prize for Literature and the Nigeria Prize for Literary Criticism have published their call for entries for the 2023 edition, flagging off this year's competitions. The Literature Prize is now in its 19th year and comes with a cash prize of $100,000, while the prize for literary criticism has a prize money of $10,000. The Literature Prize will focus on drama. The prize, which honors and brings public attention to the author of the best book by a Nigerian, rotates among 4 literary genres, namely prose, fiction, poetry, drama, and children's literature. The Literary Criticism Prize, which also aims at promoting Nigerian literature, will receive entries on works in literary criticism of Nigerian literature, especially critical essays on new writings in Nigerian literature. The prize has had enormous impact on literacy and reading culture in the country. The prize is sponsored by Nigeria LNG Limited, administered on behalf of the company by the Advisory Board of the Nigeria Prize for Literature. The board comprises individuals with impeccable character, towering stature, and appropriate academic and professional accomplishment. The call for entries for the Literature Prize and Literary Criticism will close on March the 31st, 2023. Joining us to discuss this year's double header of prizes are Professor Akachi Adimora Ezeigbo, who is here with us in Lagos, and Andy Ode, who is in our Abuja studio. Good to have you both, Professor. Good afternoon.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
We're glad to have you. Now, after reading that, I think I'm feeling like I might be good at writing. Well, we understand that your colleague is who's supposed to be in Abuja. I'm not sure if he'll join us soon, but let's just focus on you. Now, that is a very enticing prize, $100,000, and for literary criticism, $10,000. Just wondering, in the brief it says that it's made so much impact in literacy and reading culture in the country. I'm wondering what factors you're using to measure that.
Well, we are thinking of, first, the number of writers that have won this prize. Sometimes joint winners. We've had joint winners twice. We are thinking of the number of writers that have won the prize. And of course, every year, more and more people are submitting their work for assessment. So it's made a huge impact. Initially, it started with just writers based in Nigeria, but after a while, NLNG extended it to Nigerian writers in the diaspora. So we are getting a huge number of submissions each year.
And Professor, you yourself are a former recipient of the prize. I'd love to know, how did it impact your career and your journey through, although you are a professor, but your journey in writing as well?
Oh yes, in fact I was in the UK when my book was shortlisted. I went for a fellowship, and they contacted me there to say that my book was shortlisted. I must tell you that that was one of the greatest days of my life, because I felt this prize is all about Nigeria. It's for us. It's our own prize. And of course, that book has been used in schools, and even this year now is on the Anambra State school system as a text. So it made a very huge impact on my life as a writer. It encouraged me to write more. I think this is one of the things that the prize does. It motivates you. If you've won it, even if you haven't won it, it motivates you to write, to aspire to win it.
Fantastic. And what we've seen is the steady increase in terms of the amount. It went from 20,000 to 50,000
to 30 and 50
and now $100,000. Okay, so I'm just wondering what has impacted that increase, the steady increase that we've seen over the past 19 years.
I think NLNG just wanted to empower writers more, and of course, the money, the more it is, the more a writer can use it to do a lot of things. One of the writers I know who won it, Chika Onigwe, a very good writer based in the US, she started a literary prize for young people in the short story. And I know Badeola, who won it, also said he was going to start a library in his community. So people have used the money not only for themselves, but some have even, I know 2 writers who have used the money to migrate to the US, and they're doing very well there. So it's having a huge impact on people, and the increase over the years is also good. I know some people have argued that NLNG should extend it to 3 winners, but most famous prizes in the world, they don't do first, second, and third. That's what I think. But NLNG hasn't said anything about that. That has been one of the arguments of many literary enthusiasts in Nigeria, that that the money is too huge for one person, that they should distribute it to 2 or 3 people, or use it, part of it, to do other things. But NLNG is the sponsor of the prize and knows what it wants to do with this prize.
And I love that you've also mentioned that some of the recipients have used this money and paid it forward to encourage other people to get involved in both the reading and the writing culture. Let's talk a little bit about the reading culture in Nigeria. Of course, there's a generation who would say that they're concerned when they look at the Gen Zs and maybe the younger end of millennials, because a lot of people are shifting from hardback, from paper books, and most people are spending time on their devices. How would you gauge the reading culture in Nigeria at the moment?
Well, anyone who tells you that the reading culture in Nigeria is poor or low, you should discountenance that, because what you should be asking yourself is, what are people reading? People are reading, but then it depends on what they are reading. People are reading on the internet. Some people are reading electronic e-books, some are reading physical books. So people are reading, but what matters is, what are they reading? Even young people, you see children, like most students, when I'm teaching in the classroom, some students are even pinging, they are reading and doing things on the internet. That's not the best, of course, when lectures are going on. But to say people are not reading, I think is wrong. It depends on what they are reading. A lot of people are reading in Nigeria. So the reading culture has astronomically increased. But what we need to worry about is what our children are reading. We encourage them to read things that will build them up. Good books, whether they are reading it online, digital books or physical books, let them keep reading good books. Books that will help them to improve their use of language, that will expand their vocabulary. This is the kind of thing we worry about. And also books that will teach them morals. We don't want them to read things that will corrupt them, or things that will not be good for them. So what I'm concerned about is what children are reading, what people are reading. I have grandchildren and they read a lot, but I also try to monitor what they are reading.
That's what you're concerned about right now. Now, what I'm concerned about is the deadline is the 31st of March. How does anyone who's interested get involved, get their entries across? Can you share that with us?
Yes, we have a website which tabulates what, it has a guideline to writers or potential writers who want to submit their works. What we ask them to do, even though we have put out adverts and publicity about this, even video ones, but we also advise them to go to the website and read it thoroughly and see and follow the guideline. The entry closes on 31st, and only books published between 2020 and 2023 are acceptable. If any book published before 2020 will be disqualified, so you don't submit such books. So the guidelines are there for them to follow.
Right, I know the guidelines are on the website, but there's a focus on drama as a genre this year. Can we go into?
Of course, yes, only drama.
Oh, so it's only plays that you're looking at this year.
Yeah, because you see, it rotates among four genres: prose fiction, poetry, drama, and children's literature. Last year was poetry. This year focuses on drama, and next year will be children's literature. That's the way it runs.
And the literary critic category, is it the same as well?
No, the literary critic category is mostly for critics, people who write critical articles about books. But the books they write about must be Nigerian literature books, and then of course the more recent the better, because we want to focus on recent literature.
But the genre doesn't matter in that category, does it?
No, it doesn't matter. You can submit, you can write on poetry, drama, any at all. But what we are looking at is the quality of the writing and what the kind of thing the articles are discussing.
So what are your expectations? 19th year, but a huge cash prize available. I'm sure there's a feeling that this year will be a little bit more different than past years. What are some of the things you may be expecting to see that may be different from past editions?
We have a formidable panel of judges who are quite capable. These are people who are qualified. They are in the genre of drama. Some of them, they are theoreticians. In terms of theory, they are very good. They are also critics, and they are also great teachers and performers. Some of them are performance personalities too, and actors. So we expect them to do justice to this year's submission, and we expect that through the process of adjudication, what happens is after the submission, the books are distributed to the 3 judges. We have 4 judges, 1 international one, then 4 are local judges. We start with the local judges who get all the submissions. Each of them will get a set, and then they work independently. They don't work together. So they do the first short list of 50, the next one is 25, 11, 3, and then the winner is announced. It's at the short list of 3 that the international consultant or judge comes in. So it's properly organized and orchestrated. So it's because NLNG insists on excellence. That's the only reason this award is made. The only reason is excellence. Sometimes the judges have a right not to award this. They have a right to say that there's no winner for a particular year if the books submitted are not good enough. It's happened about 2 or 3 times, yes.
Wow. Okay, that's like a premise for my next question. In terms of feedback, I won't take what you just said as feedback, but you mentioned that some people have said that it should be shared, the prize money of $100,000 should be shared amongst 3 people, but it's the decision of NLNG in the end. What feedback have they been able to incorporate over the 19 years that have passed?
Okay. NLNG is a very listening company. They always listen. In fact, I remember a particular year they called stakeholders together. This was at one of the hotels here, and they discussed. They listen. They look out for what people are saying, and they incorporate the ones they feel are good enough for the prize. For instance, as I told you, they started with only writers based in Nigeria because they wanted to develop writing in Nigeria and Nigerian writers. But people were angry. People were saying, why, even though we live outside, we're Nigerians, why are we being removed from this? So NLNG expanded it and included Nigerian writers everywhere. Wherever you are located, you can submit your work. So that's what is happening. They listen from time to time. There have been other suggestions also incorporated by NLNG to make the price better. And they've increased. For instance, before they were paying literary criticism, the winner, up to last year, got 1 million naira. But last year, for the first time, they increased it to $10,000, which is a lot higher than 1 million naira. So it's 10,000, and the person who got it last year was given $10,000.
Fantastic opportunity, and thank you so much for delving into it. And I hope all the writers, Nigerian-based and in the diaspora, are paying attention and are ready to make their submissions. Professor Akachi Adimora Ezeigbo, thank you so much for your insight on the Nigeria Prize for Literature and the Nigeria Prize for Literary Criticism.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.